All right, Raj, thank you so much for joining the podcast today. I'm so excited to have you here.
Happy to be here.
So let's start off. Just tell me a little bit about your role at Gannett and what your responsibilities are as the Chief Technology Officer.
Absolutely. So I basically head up the technology function as the chief technology officer for a what I call an arm of Gannett. So we basically provide a set of products and services to advertisers that want to be found on the internet. And in a nutshell, our job is to make the telephone ring and generate leads. We provide a variety of digital products and services. And I basically look after everything related to technology, be it strategy, be it day-to-day operations, be it compliance, be it security, be it infrastructure. Um, you know, I've got a team of north of 120 folks that are distributed between the US, India, and Bulgaria.
Wow. Okay. Well, you're a busy guy. I'm so glad that you had some time to join me today.
So,
So we use Local IQ, which is a subsidiary of Gannett Media, as our platform to book digital media for our higher education clients. So we're pretty familiar with some of the technology that you use to track digital campaigns. Um, can you explain a little bit about the methods that you use and that we use here at GradCom to make sure campaigns are working, and to get the type of information we need to make better decisions?
oh. So, the topic we're going to talk about is really attribution
Yes.
and how do we attribute the money that you're spending with us and generating the leads, which is sort of a byproduct. So we have a piece of technology we have built that is proprietary to us that we call Capture. And that has been built through our teams over the years. But the way I describe that is think of Google Analytics. A lot of folks are familiar with Google Analytics, and what Google Analytics is, you introduce a piece of code and you implement that onto your website. And what that is doing, it's basically tracking what is happening on your website when somebody lands on one of your pages. It basically says, okay, this traffic came from this particular source. Here is what the user did on your website or page, and here are the actions that they took. We have something that is very similar but very proprietary to Local IQ, which gives us the ability to sort of take that lead. So a lead could be a telephone conversation, a lead could be a form fill, a lead could be a chat. Now leads, with AI and what's happening with sort of everyone's talking about AI, but it could be a conversation that's taking place between a service representative of one of our advertisers, and through that, there could be an exchange, and that could be a lead as well coming in through voice. So that's the technology that we use. Most of our advertisers will use a combination of our capture code, which gets implemented onto their website. They will also have a combination of Google Analytics configured within their website. So those are the two main sort of attribution models that we use to show our advertisers the value that we're creating for them.
That's great. And we always tell, our clients, okay, we're going to, especially pay-per-click or retargeting, we're like, here's a pixel code. Now you need to put this
Mhm.
on the website. And so a lot of our clients are like suspicious of that. What is this? What is it going to do? What is it going to track? Is it tracking like personal data? So what exactly like does it track? What is it looking at?
So pixel tracking this is something that is sort of de facto attribution that's been with us as long as the internet has been with us, and digital marketing. So let me first sort of step back and just sort of let our audience know what a pixel is and how it works.
Oh, great.
What
Because
a,
I don't
what
even know
what
what it is. It just, for me, it's just like a line. I just see a line of text. That's what I know about.
So a pixel is a piece of code that gets implemented onto the page, I'll call it, or the website page. And when somebody lands on that and clicks on that, it basically is then going and talking to a backend server where all this information is being collected. To say, okay, Raj clicked on this page and landed here, and here is where he came from in terms of traffic. And so that information is all being sort of centralized and stored back onto the server. What type of information is being stored is probably the next question. Generically speaking, it's the IP address of where that user came from, the device that was used. It could be a tablet, it could be a desktop, it could be a cell phone in terms of device types, and what was the browser that was used to basically interact. And at times there are some other pieces of information that are collected, but I want to caveat, we are so sensitive to personal information with all the privacy uh, legislation that's out there, GDPR, CCPA, as an example. So we are, and then there are the HIPAA categories
Mhm.
that one has to really sit down and consider. So we'll look at what our advertisers' needs are in terms of driving their campaigns, but we really will go back and say, hey, we cannot capture these types of information because you're in this category, and make sure from a security and compliance and a privacy viewpoint, we don't run into problems. So we, in a way, at times will educate our advertisers of what, because advertisers want to capture everything and know everything about everybody, right? We're in this paradoxical situation right now where our users, the user that's on the internet wants a very personalized experience, right? We all love it when we get content that sort of resonates with us. But the counter to that is, in order to do that, we need to know a lot more about the consumer and collect that information. But on the flip side of that, there's a lot of security that changes that are taking place. There are a lot of browser changes. Apple, with its policies and being a brand that is very close to privacy and security, is changing the whole ecosystem. So I'm sort of giving you some color in terms of all the forces that are driving this attribution and how it works. And I'm happy to sort of go down and dig into one or two areas. But it's a challenging field because from a advertising digital, if I was to put my digital advertising hat on, yes, I want to know everything about everybody. But over the years, we've really had to take a look at that and look at the legislation and make sure there's a balance in place in terms of, the data that we do collect, and we don't run foul into any of the policies and the legislation that's out there.
Yeah, and then that's something, I mean, on our end as marketers, I mean, we want to know, like, when you click on a Google ad, now where are you going on the college website? What are you doing? How are you spending
Hmm.
your time? And I mean, we are up against the same sort of privacy, even apart from your pixel code, because a student might click on an ad and go around the website, and then they click on the apply button. And now they're starting to fill out personal information, and we can't track them anymore. Like, we lose them at that point. They go into a system and they're giving their social security number. And then I'll go in front of like a board of trustees and they'll be like, well, how many people enrolled because of that ad? And I'm like, well, I can't tell you that because it's all private information once they become students. So there's this push and pull between like wanting attribution and data and privacy. And it's hard, it's very challenging for marketers to do their job and also just to show performance. So
Hmm.
I don't know, like what advice you have for marketers, like what should we be doing? What should we be looking at from a technology point of view to tell that story better?
There is, with all the changes that are taking place right now. So obviously, we're very concerned about PII data, which is personal identifiable, information. Um, but there are techniques that people are starting to sort of look at. If you look at Google gives you an aggregate, Google Analytics will give you an aggregated view as to what's happening on the website, where the traffic's coming from, but will never allow you to go down to the individual. And I think that's sort of becoming the best practices moving forward. Um, Now, if somebody's doing a form fill, as long as they give you consent, so what's really transpiring through everything and all the changes that are taking place is we have this new paradigm where if I give you consent, then it's okay for you to collect that information. And that's the hurdle that a lot of digital marketing individuals are really sort of grappling with because they want the experience to be seamless. But now, I was in the UK a couple of days ago, and what was interesting for me is I was going to Yahoo News and looking at the stock prices. But before I could do that, it came up with a model to say, hey, are you opting in? And this is what we collect, and are you okay with it? And the experience is a little disruptive if you think about it, but that's what's happening. Apple is asking you the same thing within its ecosystem to say, here is, are you okay opting in and giving permission for the advertiser to have access to this data? And you can say no, and then they won't get that piece of information. So when it comes to, I wish I had a magic wand to say this is the way it should be done. I don't think anyone's really cracked it, but that's the change we're going through. And companies are HubSpot, as an example, or Adobe Analytics. They are certainly looking at those problems and trying to figure out how to sort of have a seamless experience from a user consumer viewpoint without these types of clunky experiences, I call them. Um, but at the same time, still allow people to collect the information that they need in order to provide that personalized targeting and experience in terms of serving digital ads.
I'm curious if you clicked yes.
I did
Yes.
because I sometimes the experience when you don't say yes, the experience within. So I'm used to going to. I'll give you an example. I'm used to going to Yahoo Finance, and it sort of knows me and it knows what I want. Um, and if I didn't, then the experience would be slightly different. So I sort of knowing that said yes.
Yeah. I always say yes too because well, I'm a marketer, so I want to see I want to see what's going on when who's going to be marketing to me and how it adjusts my interactions online. So I would
I
how many people are clicking no versus yes. I
that
don't
I'm sure somebody out there has those metrics in
I
terms of
know.
how many people say yes and how many people say no. But you know there is a lot of focus on what information are you collecting.
Mhm.
Um, Legislation is there. So I sit in California, so I'm very up to speed on CCPA as an example. And we, we have consumers that are that are clients of our clients that will come through that mechanism come to us and saying, what information do you have about me
Right.
within your ecosystem? And at times we have to sort of provide that level of visibility. Now, the good news is um, Gannett and Local IQ, one of the being part of a newspaper group and being part of a much larger public company, we take security and data privacy, it's foundational to us. We have to put it into our DNA. We have a data privacy officer that does nothing but look at legislation and what we're doing, and she polices what I do. She takes a keen interest and represents the consumer, not only the consumer, but also our advertisers
Right.
through all the products and services that we provide, and really questions what data are we collecting? Is that data encrypted? Because it's not only about the experience in terms of serving digital ads and getting those leads, uh, generating those leads, and then figuring out did they convert or not, right? That's the business we're in. But what we have to now look at within my remit is, where is that data stored and is it secured? Because I'm sure everybody gets to hear about their social security numbers being out there, and these major data brokers being hacked, and that becomes a real trust issue,
Right. Yeah, and
right?
I'm happy to hear that. I think that's really one of the main reasons that we love partnering with Gannett and Local IQ is, doing this on our own. We don't have a data compliance officer or people who are following the legislation. So, we rely on your company to make sure that colleges are protected and the data is protected and our pixel codes aren't invading anybody's privacy. So it's probably a big relief for clients listening, like, oh, they maybe not even thought about everything that's going on behind the scenes to not just make your campaign effective, but also to protect people's privacy.
Absolutely. It's something we have to, as a business, we pay a lot of attention to it. And I I'm I haven't come across another agency out there that's in a similar business, but one of the things that we push for in 2023 and 2024 is that we're a SOC 2 Type 2 compliant organization. And that is the industry standard. That's like the gold standard from a security viewpoint. And it's becoming, I think as these changes sort of work their way through the ecosystem, I think a lot more advertisers are going to be demanding that their agencies have a SOC 2 Type 2. So what that basically it provides an element of comfort because it stipulates how we deal with the data, how we collect the data, how we store the data. Is the data encrypted? Who do we share that data with? Um, and we actually go out to Google and at times get them to show us their policies, because it's all, we're at times an intermediary between ourselves and Google in terms of AdWords and what they're doing. They're serving up the ad. We're sort of creating the campaign on behalf of our advertiser. So I think there's going to be a lot more scrutiny going forward.
Right. Well, I want to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. And when we get back, I want to talk a little bit about the technology behind behavioral targeting and how all of that happens. So we'll be right back.
How do higher education decision makers find the right solution when technology evolves at light speed? Well, we usually start with our network. EdTech Connect is the network that's democratizing the higher ed technology conversation. EdTech Connect is free, so anyone with a .edu email address can sign up and list the software and services they use in their role at their school. Once you're in, you can find out what solutions similar schools are doing all over the country. Whether you're looking to find the hot new AI tool, or maybe learn options you have to upgrade your campus search engine, or even get to your short list of marketing solution vendors, EdTech Connect is the place to go. So visit edtechconnect.com and set up your free profile to get a pulse for what's happening with higher ed technology today.
All right. So we talked a lot about privacy before the break. And now I want to dig into the nitty gritty of how some things happen on the back end. And I know Raj had told me before we started that you were not going to get too technical. So we'll see. We'll see how you
I'll
convince
try.
me not getting too technical. So I know this happens to a lot of people, but it really stood out to me the other night. There's a brand of like sweaters that I really like, and I was looking for a Christmas sweater. And it's I went on their website and I looked around and I didn't find anything I liked. And then I was on Facebook that night and I saw their ads. And then the next day, my son, who like is a YouTube, all he does is watch YouTube, my 9-year-old. That's all he does not watch shows, he just watches YouTube.
Mhm.
And he watches it on our TV, and the sweater ad was on YouTube. For this, and actually the YouTube surprised me more than Facebook, because Facebook I see all the time. But all of a sudden I'm seeing like a beautiful woman in a sweater and it's the same brand. And I was like, oh wow, they really got me. So how does all of that come to be? How does that work on the back end?
Okay, so when you go to a website and you show interest, you land on a website. It's basically, let's take Christmas sweaters as an example. You know, they're selling Christmas sweaters. You go there. They're probably doing one of two things. The first thing that still happens, and I know that this is being phased out, but they're probably setting a cookie and putting a cookie on your device to say, this is who you are, this is where you came from, and it's like a fingerprint. They'll take a fingerprint and put that on the device. So the next time you go there, if the cookie's still there, they'll say, oh, we already know this person. We already know that they came and looked at this last time, and they're back again. And on the back of that, they'll try and figure out what else should they show you to keep your interest and ultimately get you to buy a sweater. But it's a combination of pixel tracking, and it's probably a combination of cookies that are being set in the back end. And a lot of these, if you're within the Google ecosystem, the reason that they want you to log in, as soon as you sort of bring up your browser, they're always asking you to log in to Google.
Right. Yeah, it actually annoys me. I'm like, I don't want to log in. I just want to go find something. Okay.
But
I
they
didn't
want
know
you,
this one had a reason.
but the
Yeah.
reason they want you to log in is obviously with Apple's big move to stop sharing third-party cookies and get their browsers not to participate in that ecosystem. It's disrupted everything. So now Google wants you to log in, because once you log in, they know who you are. And once you're logged in, they know where you're going and what you're seeing because you're using Chrome as your browser, and they can track all of your interactions and your interests and what you're looking at. And it's all part of one big ecosystem, and all that information is being centralized somewhere. So they've got a very good profile of your interests and what you're doing in real time. And on the back of that, they're serving up these different ads to you. So I'm trying to keep it high level just to sort of
Yeah.
give you a feel for how it works. There's a lot more complexity underneath it. But that's in general, that's why most publishers today want to go to first party data, because they want you to log into their application. And once you log in, they know exactly. Now they're not dependent on the cookies that will go away.
Yeah. And I guess behind the scenes, like, I mean, YouTube is owned by Google, right? That's a Google product, but Facebook is not.
So Facebook has its own ad tag mechanism. It has a similar piece of technology that sits outside of the Google ecosystem. But having said that, I'm sure somebody somewhere, do the multi-channel attribution
Right.
capabilities. There are companies that do that now and can follow you from um, different browsers, different devices, and piece it all together and still sort of show you,
Right.
okay, this is follow you on the internet is the way I would describe it.
And probably I'm thinking about our own education campaigns. Like we will do website retargeting to Facebook. You put a pixel on the college website and you
Hmm.
say, hey, anybody comes to the website, we want them to now see an ad on Facebook. And the same with YouTube, like, oh, we could put that on the website. If anybody comes to your website and then they go to YouTube, we want them to see pre-roll. So
Hmm.
you end up popping up everywhere. It's pretty impressive when you actually pay attention and see it happen to you. Like with this sweater, I was like, wow, they really want me to buy this sweater. Like they've just spent a
They
good amount of money trying to get me back on their site. Like it's pretty
the way I've seen it done is using the email, your
mm,
email,
okay.
because that is sort of unique to you. Especially in retargeting, I've seen that used, but there are other techniques that are out there. Fingerprinting is definitely something that is it's not quite there yet, but there's a lot of company working on that in trying to make sure that they can take fingerprints across different ecosystems and bring it together and then consolidate that view. Um, it's it's an evolving field. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I struggle at times trying to keep up with what's going on. And more recently, with what's happening with AI, I was reading a paper the other day where they want to take certain pieces of information about you that's limited, but use the AI to do predictions in terms of how would you behave.
Wow, that's really interesting. I mean, even in education, there's some modeling going on, like how do certain types of people like stack up in terms of completion? Like what
Hmm.
attributes does Cheryl have that makes her a student that's more likely to complete? And then ranking her like higher on the list as one that admissions officer should pay more attention to because she's more likely to graduate. So let's pay more attention to her. Let's market more to her because if we get her to come here, she's going to complete. And so everything's changing. It's becoming more sophisticated. It's not just like this broadcast, let's just cast a wide net. If
No,
technology is
it's
helping us make decisions a little bit more. I don't wouldn't say better. I don't know if it's better. Hmm. It's a good philosophical question. Is it
it
better?
is. We can talk philosophy and ethics, which are two other subjects very dear to my heart when it comes to digital marketing. But yeah, no, look, AI is definitely bringing a lot more capabilities to the table without uh, intruding on privacy. Is the way is the way I'm thinking about it. If somebody's going to really sort of crack the nut, as I call it, I think that between those two posts, if AI can do something, then I think people will get a very personalized experience, and we can be very precise in sort of targeting um, based on what they're looking for in your domain. It's about college students and enrollments within certain institutions and really sort of refining that process. But AI, I'm amazed at what it can do. If I was to go back sort of 6 to 12 months, it was like, whoa, it can do this. But now it's like, whoa, it just blows my mind. If you look at the virtual agents and the human interactions and how they could represent a customer service representative, it's scary in some ways.
Yeah. Well, as we're wrapping up our conversation, I'm hoping you can help me out with something. I'm hoping I can
Sure.
take a sound bite of you and play
Hmm.
this to my clients. So Raj and I worked together a couple months ago because we had one college that was worried about the pixel code, was worried about privacy, it was worried about slowing down the website. It just wasn't familiar with the technology. So we were able to meet with them and explain how it worked. And those of people who are listening that work at colleges won't be surprised. There were like 12 people in the meeting, and it's like the vice president, and it became this big deal. And we ended up addressing their concerns, and the codes on the website and everything's happening really well. But the truth is, most technology officers at colleges just don't have the background in digital marketing to understand what it is that we need for them to put on their website. So I'm hoping you can give me just an explanation that our college marketers can take back to their technology team to explain like what this thing does and how it's safe. Like, what would you tell them? What's your 30-second soundbite?
Okay, 30-second soundbite. It's a piece of code that sits on your website that really sends a signal to our technology where we can then take that and show you a lead or the behavior.
Oh, that was great. That was like 15 seconds. You understood the assignment. So it's a piece of technology that allows us to show you the behavior, somebody visiting the site, and whether or not they become a lead. And we know from talking to you that the platform you use has the highest level of privacy compliance. So we're not tracking anything illegally. We're just helping you see how effective your marketing is, and so that you can make better decisions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The only thing I would put on the table on the back to support that is the SOC 2 Type 2 is a completely third-party piece of certification. So it's not like we're saying, "Hey, we're secure, trust us." It's an industry standard, and that's one of the reasons that we made the investment and got that.
Well, and you know what? That's a great thing, I think, for people who aren't clients with GradCom to ask their media people if do you have the SOC 2 compliance? Yeah, because now that I don't even know what that compliance is, but now that I know it, I would definitely want to ask my media partner if they are compliant, because that's the gold standard.
Get them to Google it.
Okay.
They should, if they're if I was in their positions, that's what I would ask for.
Right. Well, good. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are. And thank you for not putting me to sleep with the technology lingo. It was actually
it's
a lot. Yeah. I'm even thinking for my own marketing, I need to put on there that we use a platform that's compliant and that has, I think that's a really important thing that people should know when they're starting to invest in digital marketing, that we are really paying attention to consumer consent. We're transparent, we're protecting privacy, we're up to date, we know what the legal laws are. I mean, those are really important things when it comes to the digital online presence.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.